You cannot mess with
It's a shame.
what's going on.
It's an issue that is going to keep going on to the next CBA, but running backs are such like a expendable position where
they're currently being paid like 1980s worth salary for their respective positions. It's ridiculous.
It's the last position that's super. I mean, every position in football is pretty much changed, but running back is the last position.
They die out when they're 30. Yeah. They're done.
So, Pip, who's your first round bust this year?
I think Todd Gurley is a complete bust this year. His knee, the poor bastard, cannot stay healthy. The guy's got arthritis in his knee. He tore the ACL coming out of college. He couldn't even get on the field in the playoffs last year. What do you think? Why do you think he's going to be back on the field this year?
They've had a full year to deal with the arthritis, and the NFL has the best doctors, the best physical therapists in the world. I disagree with the Gurley pick because even if he gets the ball 3/4 of the time he did last year, he's still an elite fantasy running back. He's not going to be number one, but he's still an elite guy.
I don't know. I've been reading a bunch of stuff, and Maurice Jones-Drew, who does the radio for the Rams, has been saying that it was a problem for him all last year.
It's never going to go away.
And what do you call it? Todd Gurley actually came out, I think yesterday, and said to reporters, because they're hounding him about his knee, he said, I quote, "Y'all have got to stop putting this bad energy in my knee, man. Just let it be."
That sounds like someone who's not 100% confident in
exactly.
himself right now.
He wouldn't even entertain that question, in my opinion. I think he's a bust this year.
If he plays 16 games, the top.
That's
3.
the biggest if, though. That's the same reason. That's the same reason I put Melvin Gordon in the bust category. Really, a lot of these dudes, it's extremely rare for us to have first-round busts where they do play 13-plus games and they're still ineffective. It's always the guys who get hurt, and you can't put Todd Gurley and Melvin Gordon not in the category of the guys who might be there.
Angelo, who's your first-round bust?
Mine is not as much of a bust. I just think where he's being drafted is going to be an issue. So I think Saquon Barkley of the top. I think the first round is very safe as far as the picks going on with the wide receivers and running backs there. But my issue with Saquon is that Giants team is going to be bad. Their offense is not going to be good. Eli Manning has no one to throw to.
They were bad last year. They were really bad.
They were not awful last year.
They were awful.
No, they were
not.
not.
How do you think they're going to be worse?
They were a league average scoring team. I think they were 16th. So they were the literal average.
Yes.
I think this year they could be looking at like the 26th worst offense.
Exactly.
They lost their number one wide receiver.
He didn't play past the 5th game.
I get that. I understand that. Let me finish.
And
now,
was giving the Italian Paesons relax hands over here.
There's already some issues with Golden Tate. Suspension, 4 games. I don't know if it's going to hold up. Sterling Shepard's already hurt. Evan Ingram's...
He's going to be back for game 1.
Okay, but if he isn't, then all of a sudden...
What about Evan Ingram?
Evan Ingram is... I'm saying Evan Ingram's their only guy right now that I have confidence in that's going to be able to catch the ball, and he drops the ball all the time.
Well, maybe we'll get another victory.
If there's one thing that I'm not really worried about with Eli, it's making something out of his receivers. Look at the last Super Bowl he got. I mean, his first Super Bowl...
The last Super Bowl was what? 5 years ago? 6 years ago?
No, the last Super Bowl was... It was 8 years ago.
7 years ago.
Okay, but
it's a different league.
The whole narrative with Eli is definitely not he needs a top wide receiver to be good. He needs a line. That's it. And if there's history that shows with Eli, it's that he makes something out of receivers that don't do well elsewhere. Look at Mario Manningham. Hakeem Nicks was a joke. He was still in his 30s. What are you talking about?
Okay, but he is... I know you guys are Giants guys and Eli guys, but you can't say Eli Manning is anywhere near his prime anymore.
Nobody's saying
he's
that.
on the massive downturn. I just worry that Eli Manning is not going to be able to be effective enough, and then teams are going to start to hone in on Saquon Barkley. I know he was good last year against a stacked box. I'm not saying he's going to be bad. I bet you Saquon Barkley finishes the top 7 running back. But if you draft him first overall, you're expecting the first overall running back at the end of the year. You're expecting to be in the top 3.
You know who ended the whole stack the box narrative for me? Your boy Zeke Elliott last year.
Yeah,
they stacked the box every single game.
And he had some inefficient games.
Some inefficient games, but he's still a guy you would consider taking top 3 this year. And I think if you take a guy first overall, he better be top 3. And I can't imagine a world in which Saquon finishes outside the top 3 if he plays 15-plus games. I can't imagine it.
I can. That's why I think he's going to be a bust. I don't think he's
going
to be a bust.
So in that scenario, who do you have in front of him? So let's say
everyone plays all 16 games?
Yes.
I think Saquon has a realistic chance to finish 5th to 7th.
So let's hear the 4 guys.
Everyone plays. So I go Kamara.
Okay.
I go McCaffrey, who finished ahead of him last year on a points-to-points basis until McCaffrey sat out the last game. I got Zeke. If Zeke plays all 16 games, he's Pip disagrees. Let's hear it.
Well, first of all, we don't even. I put money on it that Zeke doesn't even play.
That's not the. I'm saying Aquino and I.
We were having
everyone plays 16 games
for everyone.
Melvin Gordon as well. Melvin Gordon can finish ahead of Saquon. And there's also a chance that I'm completely wrong, and Saquon goes to a different level this year, and he finishes at an unquestioned number 1 value in fantasy. But the whole point of a first-round bust is a first-round pick is supposed to be a sure thing. I just think of all the first-round picks that I'm the most worried about, it's between him and David Johnson.
I have more worry about, I know I'm a Giant fan, but I have more worry about Alvin Kamara in terms of fantasy value and volume. Saquon Barkley is the guy, no matter what.
Yes, I agree with you.
I don't care.
I agree with you 100%, and I'm trying to be as unbiased as I possibly can be in a Giants fan, but when you have another body in there like Latavius Murray, how could you possibly say that it's equal when the next guy on the Giants roster is Paul Perkins?
The whole offense is literally going to be run through Saquon.
And a lot of things that ties into the scoring of a running back is the touchdown opportunities. It's the reason why Zeke early on in the year wasn't good. Wasn't good, but he wasn't as elite as he was because his team wasn't scoring a lot of points that was going to him. So if the Giants struggle to score points, I just worry that Saquon is going to be the victim of just being on a worse offense. The Saints are always going to score points. Same thing with the Panthers. If Cam Newton's come back and is awful, and DJ Moore doesn't make the next step, then McCaffrey gets in that thing where the Panthers aren't scoring a lot.
I get that, but there are a few running backs in the league that break off 50-plus yard runs like Saquon. I mean, you don't even have to worry about the Giants being a red zone offense for him to score. He scores from the other side of the field more than any player in football.
And I know. I'm just saying, if that dries up, because long-distance plays are volatile like home runs are in the major leagues. Like ERA is a volatile stat. Long touchdowns vary from year to year. It's
true.
It's a long touchdown is skill. Saquon Barkley is one of the 3 most talented running backs in the NFL. I just worry that the Giants are going to be so bad because Eli Manning's in the downswing. So if Eli falls off a cliff? You're going to trust Daniel Jones?
I think Daniel Jones at that point, I'm not saying he's Sam Darnold. I'm not saying he's the same guy, but it'd be the same conversation as let's check down to our running back and give our running back as much volume as possible because he's not that ready yet.
I know. And listen, like I said, I think he's going to be a stud. Of the first round guys, I think he has the best chance to fall out of the top.
Let's talk about this. Okay. Let's talk about this. Say our fantasy draft is tomorrow, and Ezekiel Elliott's holding out. Melvin Gordon's holding out, and Michael Thomas are still holding out. I think
Michael Thomas is close to a deal. There's no way he won't.
Julio Jones
is out of camp. He's playing.
All right.
Michael Thomas is about to sign his deal. I'm not worried about
okay,
him.
so say Ezekiel Elliott and Melvin Gordon. It's the draft tomorrow. Are you touching them in the first round?
I'd let someone else fall on that sword.
It depends on what value.
Not me.
Yeah, I'm not drafting them in the top 4.
So if you're in the bottom...
We just saw what happened. Fool me once. I mean, it didn't happen to me, but fool us once.
Ezekiel Elliott's the kind of guy
saw
that
what Le'Veon
would not
built
come back.
Why do you say that?
Because I just feel like he's that kind of guy.
Ezekiel Elliott's much more valuable to his team than Melvin Gordon is, I think the Cowboys are going to realize.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying if they're going to get into a true fight, which it seems like they are, I'm saying he's the kind of guy that won't budge.
Well, it's very interesting. Is what Jerry Jones? Did you hear Jerry Jones? What he said recently?
He said
he said we don't need a running champion to.
Well,
meanwhile, the last 3 Super Bowls, the guy won. They had a running champion, a guy that led the league in yards each of the 3 times.
Well,
and Emmitt Smith, I believe.
If Zeke isn't there, and then they start the season 0-1 against the Giants,
it's a classic Cowboys.
The tone's going to change.
They're just going to implode on themselves.
So
you would touch? You think Ezekiel Elliott's going to budge in the holdout? There's no way.
I think Zeke is more likely to show up than Melvin Gordon. That's my thing.
But because the Cowboys are going to pay him, or because Zeke is going to say, "Okay, I need to play."
I think a mixture of both because Dak Prescott is nowhere near the quarterback Phil Rivers is, and without Zeke, Dak Prescott's lack of a talent at quarterback is going to show more than it would.
Couldn't agree more.
With Melvin Gordon.
But that Ezekiel Elliott doesn't care about that. All he wants is money.
I know, but I think there's a part of these guys that understand that.
So that'll push the Cowboys.
The Cowboys,
pay.
yeah, that's why I think the Cowboys are going to budge.
I agree. I don't see why they're not going to pay the guy.
So continuing on, we're going to begin to talk about some guys in the late rounds that are sleepers that we might like. Quino, you want to start off?
We're going to go with 5 each.
No, we're just going to go with just any. It doesn't matter. It doesn't need 5. It's just someone you like that is late right now that you think is an opportunity to be successful.
I've got 8 guys on my list right now. I'm just gonna run through all of them.
Go, do it.
I got Chris.
Aquino.
Why?
Just talking a lot. Go.
Okay. Well, now I'm going to keep it to a minimum. I got Chris Godwin from the Buccaneers. I think that
was he on the 49ers?
He was on the Buccaneers last year.
So
after losing...
Marquise
Goodwin, yeah.
You're thinking, Marquise Goodwin from the 49ers. I think Chris Godwin with the Bucs is a good candidate to be a pop-off kind of a guy, considering that Adam Humphries and Deshaun Jackson left. He could be a very good option for Jameis Winston, if he even ends up being the starting quarterback. I mean, who knows with this team? But either way, they're going to throw the ball a lot, I guarantee, because they don't have much in the running back spot, and I think Godwin could pop off. Then I'll just keep it to 3. My next guy that I have is D.D. Westbrook. I mean, when you've got a guy with his talent level, you saw that catch he made against the Patriots last year, that one-hand sideline catch, and the fact that they had pretty much no quarterback in Blake Bortles or Cody Kessler all season, and then they get a guy like Foles in there. I think he could pop off. And then I know it's boring because it's 3 wide receivers as sleepers, but my number 1 sleeper this year, I think he's going to pop off, is Christian Kirk. Christian Kirk, the Arizona Cardinal. I mean, you got an old Larry Fitzgerald, and then you have Kyler Murray coming in, and I can't see Kyler Murray developing the strongest relationship with a guy who it might be his last year with. You know, when you have a guy that's as young as Christian Kirk, they could start a very long duo together, and I think that creates a very nice relationship for fantasy owners.
I mean, I agree with you on all those. Christian Kirk, I was big on Christian Kirk last year. Just Josh Rosen was awful. So, a guy I like in the later rounds.
Was he really awful though? The line stunk.
He was awful, but it wasn't his fault. It really wasn't his fault.
A guy I like in the later rounds, we got Vance McDonald, who I know Aquino agrees with me on this one. Vance McDonald, the Steelers vacated over 150 targets last year with AB leaving, and it's got to go somewhere. Now Vance McDonald could also fall flat in his face, and the targets would go to people like James Washington or Dante Moncrief, who's new in Pittsburgh. So I just think Vance McDonald has the best opportunity of the people behind Juju Smith-Schuster to take that leap and have the 8th year breakout.
And you also have Jesse James going to the Lions, so it frees up tight ends targets for him too. And
then another guy got Dante Pettis.
Yes,
on the Niners.
Yeah.
The Niners, they kind of lack a prototypical number 1 wide receiver. They drafted Deebo Samuels, who you never know what you're going to get with a rookie. But Dante Pettis down the stretch kind of came on to becoming a successful wide receiver, and I think he has an opportunity now with Jimmy Garoppolo to ascend to fantasy football, not superstardom, but definitely a guy you're starting weekly.
Yep.
So, well, first of all, let me start with saying my number 1 sleeper I'm not going to reveal because, look, guys, you guys heard it. I struggle in fantasy football. I can't be giving away my number 1
Keeping
sleeper.
the cards close to the chest.
Keeping the cards close to the chest. But my first sleeper, I was very harsh on this guy coming out of college. I thought he was so overrated. Jameis Winston from Florida State. I mean, I just thought he was one of the most overrated players to ever come out of the draft, in my opinion. The guy has been through some struggles. I'm back on the bandwagon. He's got Bruce Arians coming. He's the quarterback.
I think you're creating the bandwagon because there's no one on the Jameis Winston bandwagon.
Pip is hopping on the bandwagon. Hop on with. Bruce Arians is the quarterback whisperer.
I've definitely heard some Winston love on Twitter and seeing some things.
Hop on the bandwagon. It's Jameis Winston's year. Jameis Winston or Marcus Mariota. These are the two.
Marcus Mariota sucks.
Marcus Mariota sucks.
I'm not saying Marcus Mariota is a sleeper. I'm just saying these 2 guys. We'll go off topic here. These 2 guys were drafted the same year. They're both contract years. 1 and 2. who is going to come out on top. One of them is not coming out on top.
I think it's Jameis, but I don't think it's going to be much saying that it's Jameis because I think they're both bad.
You think they're both bad?
I do.
I think Jameis Winston has an opportunity to have a good fantasy year because the offense Bruce Arians runs, but